Hello, welcome back. Welcome back to Walker Talks on China's claim on Indian territory. This video represents part 2 of the series where we discuss China's takeover of Tibet and its legitimacy of its claim on disputed land with India. If you haven't already seen, please check out series 1 in which we talk about China's takeover of Tibet. In today's video, we'll talk about the legitimacy of India's claim and China's claim on the disputed territory between the two countries. Let's start with the Easter egg. In the first video, we spoke about CIA's involvement in this entire story, but we didn't cover it. Hope you caught that Easter egg. China justified their action by raising the bogey of the Western plot to turn Tibet into an American base. So apparently, CIA had assets on ground in Tibet in 1950s, seeking to create a CIA base targeted against Russia in Tibet. China took this opportunity in the 1950s to come into Tibet again on the pretext of preventing Western powers again coming into the region. Alright, so in part 1 of the video, you've heard enough from me about China's takeover of Tibet and their claim of the Tibetan territory. Today, let's focus on the layout of McMahon Line and why is India claiming certain territories which China is claiming is legally theirs. Start by familiarizing ourselves with the lay of the land in the Himalayan belt in the Jammu and Kashmir area. It's the hotspot of dispute between India and China other than NAFTA or the Eastern Front. The Jammu and Kashmir region is layered by a series of mountain ranges, starting with the Kunlun mountain ranges up north, which fall just south of the Xinjiang province. Initially, McMahon drew that line, or which is now called as the McMahon Line, running along the water edge of the Kunlun mountains with the intent to stop any possible Russian advance down south into then British India. This mountain range is followed by the Karakoram Ranges, which has the famous K2 peak on it. This mountain range runs from northwest towards southeast. If you closely follow the lay of the border, the Indian claim of the territory is depicted along the Kunlun lines, and the Chinese area or Aksai Chin gets cut off, and the present line of control runs along the watershed of the Karakoram Ranges. These two ranges are then followed by the Ladakh Range, the Zanskar Range, the Great Himalayan Range, and really the Ladakh and the Zanskar Ranges are part of the Great Himalayan Belt, which is then subsequently followed with Pir Panjal Ranges, which has been a hotspot of terrorist activity in the region. Now, India is the legal heir to the British Indian territory. The line drawn along the Kunlun mountain ranges is the line depicted in Indian maps. The Chinese, on the other hand, has been pushing down and claiming territories all the way to the base of the Great Himalayan Belt, which in this case comes close to the Ladakh mountain ranges. The recent fights between Indian and Chinese troops have happened along this disputed mountain range along the Karakoram mountain ranges. The areas of the Galwan Valley and Pangong Tso, as depicted here on the map, represents the Chinese advance down into the Indian territory, trying to come closer to the base of the Great Himalayan Ranges, and India's effort to push forward to reclaim the territory which they inherited from the British. Let's talk about the legitimacy of the Chinese claim. The Chinese consolidated their hold on Tibet with thoroughness in the 1951s. They used existing political system and immense authority of Dalai Lama to implement the famous 17-point agreement. By taking over Tibet, China claimed all the territories which belonged to Tibet. For centuries, India and Tibet have lived by custom, usage, tradition, and without a surveyed boundary. Such customary and de facto delineation was rendered invalid by a hostile Chinese. Now, this customary border between ancient Tibet and India was governed by taxation. Lhasa monastery used to control taxation for monasteries in this region, and any monastery which paid taxes to Lhasa was thought of or understood of as part of Tibet. India, by blocking Tibet's question of independence at the United Nations, lost the moral argument for the disputed land. Well, that does not mean or that does not legitimize Chinese occupation of the disputed land. It just provides one angle to the story. Now let's talk about legality of the Indian argument. First and the most important point, India inherited all the land of British India. Whatever was drawn on the map by British India is inherited by the modern Union of India, and they have a legal claim to that land. The treaty was signed by a Chinese emissary in Shimla in 1914, which the Chinese government revoked, but the treaty still stands, and that bases the legal argument of India's claim. Second, Chinese occupation of Tibet is illegal and under question. India may not have opposed this act in 1950s, but that does not make the occupation right. Third, there are no records to suggest that the monasteries in the Ladakh region used to pay taxes to the Lhasa monastery. That could be true for Tawang in the Nifa area, but not for Jammu and Kashmir, the region which was always ruled by Hindu kings, and there are enough legal records to prove that area was dominated by Maharajas of Indian era, and the taxation was paid to the king of Srinagar. Who's right? Who's wrong? We are not the one to decide that. These are the facts of the case. The two countries have fought multiple times on the border, with one major war in 1962 where India saw a bloody defeat, and now the two nuclear power countries again are eyeball to eyeball on the border for yet another showdown, and only time will tell who will prevail. But it'll be interesting to see your opinion and thoughts on this video and the facts presented. Please do not shy away from leaving your comments and thoughts on who has the legal right to the disputed land. Lastly, please do not forget to hit a like button and subscribe. We'll try and make some more interesting content for you all. We appreciate your love and support.